everybody.
Hey now.
Welcome to another episode of Scott Fox After 9. Today is an episode where my good friend and colleague and co-host Ana Almeida is going to join me because I am sick of you asking, where's Ana? Hi, Ana. How you doing?
I'm good. That was so nice.
There are so many people asking, hey, when's Ana going to be on? She's great. I love her.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to get you on for a couple of different topics today. I'm going to bring you back in just a sec. We're going to talk about parking, and we're going to talk about fines.
Okay.
Fines and parking.
Something I'm very familiar with.
Okay. Well, me too, unfortunately. I'll also let you know that coming up in this episode, you are going to hear from Ontario Premier Doug Ford and more on this episode of The Pod. Quick, what you need to know, gas prices went up a cent at midnight, and it makes absolutely no sense. Up another penny, $1.34.9. is the average across southern Ontario today. On the calendar, it is National Coconut Cream Pie Day today. It is also McHappy Day. That's actually part of the reason that Anna's going to make this quick. You've got to go to McDonald's.
Yes, so I'm going to be at McDonald's for McHappy Day because anytime today, doesn't matter where you are, go buy, a Big Mac meal, any food or drink order, your purchase goes to support Ronald McDonald House and, of course, local charities in your neighborhood. So I think it's an incredible opportunity where calories don't count and all the funds go to help.
Well, that's a great thing to point out. No, calories don't count at McDonald's today. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter because it is such a great cause. Listen, I know that not everybody likes McDonald's.
I don't know how. Their fries. Oh, my gosh.
One thing that I really like is Ronald McDonald House.
I couldn't agree more.
Anna, I've been to the one. I got a great tour. I won an award years ago, and it came with a cash award as well.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I don't want it. Donate it. Give it to, Ronald McDonald House. And they were grateful for the donation. So they invited me to come down and show me around their facilities. So I got this behind the scenes tour, and they told me what it is that they do there. And I truly had no idea how much they help families who have got kids, for example, that are in the hospital.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can allow you to stay for free right near your kid if they need you, it really is just unbelievable work. So that's why I support them whenever I can and encourage anyone to do that. So if you buy something at McDonald's today, it is for a great cause. Now, the coconut cream pie thing, too. Are you a cream pie kind of girl?
No.
I don't mean it like that. Don't look at me like that.
No, but I'm telling you, no. I have a dairy allergy. I can't do the cream.
No. Oh, that's right. Okay, well. Jesus.
No.
Okay. What else can I tell you? Oh, somebody won the Lotto 649 Gold Ball last night. Finally, somebody won $60 million life-changing dollars.
Wasn't us.
No, it wasn't me.
No.
That's why we're here today,
Yeah.
everybody. Another person won $5 million, so that's good. And tomorrow's Lotto Max is for $80 million. It's getting up there.
That's going to be us.
Now we get to the last of what you need to know. We're up 2-0. The Leafs beat the Panthers again last night, and I don't know how to feel. I don't remember feeling this feeling. It's been at least like 30 years or something. And I've never in my lifetime seen the Leafs win a Stanley Cup. Now, not to say that they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but we're up 2-0 over Florida in the second round.
And they're the defending champs.
They are. And you know what's funny? When you look down the line in the next round, if we make it through this one, it'll either be Carolina or Washington. I like our odds against both of those teams. But then for the Cup, it could be Dallas. Could be Winnipeg.
Oh.
Could be Edmonton.
Whoa.
The thought of a Leafs-Oilers Stanley Cup final, this country would explode. We would have to declare a whole week of just national holidays. Everybody just take some time off and watch hockey.
It would only be fair. It's our sport. We would deserve that.
Here's a question. Do you think Americans would watch the Stanley Cup if it was two Canadian teams?
No.
Because the NHL seems to be very, very hell-bent on promoting their American markets, and they figure the Canadian ones don't really need it. What would the NHL do if it was two Canadian teams in the Cup? I don't even know if they would get primetime views.
I have to agree with you. I don't think a lot of Americans would tune in for that because they don't have anything which team would they support unless they're, those who've moved to the U.S. that have Canadian roots then. I mean, how could you not cheer for the Leafs, though? Even if you're American or not, you just want them to win. We deserve it.
We certainly do, Anna.
We do.
Up 2-0.
Come on.
That is great news. By the way, you did a little experiment this morning.
Yes, I did.
There's a theory that I have that because tickets in Toronto are so expensive, You could probably go to Florida and watch a game for cheaper than it is to go to Scotiabank Arena and watch the Leafs. So Anna did a little homework today, and you figured it out. To sit in, what is it, section 113?
It's section 111, okay? And you're going to sit in row 23. This is in Florida. You're going to pay $279 Canadian per ticket. That's amazing.
$279 Canadian per ticket. How much is that same seat in Toronto for next week?
It is $1,011 for one ticket. One ticket, okay? And it goes up. It goes up from there. It goes to $1,500.
So it's almost 5 times more to go to a game in Toronto. Now, there's also airfare and hotel.
I covered that too. It was $700 just to fly to Florida for 3 days.
Return.
Yeah.
$700 return, all in. Mm-hmm. That's flying Flair out of Pearson Airport.
You got it.
And we're staying at what? The Holiday Inn Express?
Yes, with continental breakfast. I feel it's important. You should know. That's a meal on them. And that for 2 nights, 3 days, $300 taxes and fees included.
You could do this for $1,500.
Yep.
Or you could pay $1,100 just for the ticket to go to Toronto.
Isn't that amazing? And you have the whole day to explore Florida too. Like, what a win.
It's a huge win. That's awesome.
Yeah. Go Leafs, go.
Okay, Anna, 2 things I want to talk to you about before you have to bail for McHappy Day.
Yeah.
I want to start off by talking about fines. This is something that came up on our radio show yesterday. We're on Light 92. That's 92.1 FM every morning from 5:30 till 9. In Finland, somebody just got a massive speeding ticket. It was $129,000.
Wow.
And I thought, how fast was this person going? I looked into it, and they were speeding, no doubt. But it wasn't that bad. How did the fine turn out to be $129,000? Apparently in Finland, what they do is they make the fine proportionate to your income and your ability to pay. In other words, if you make $30,000 a year and you get caught going 30 over the limit, you might get a fine of maybe $80 to $100. However, if you make $130,000 doing the exact same speed, you're fined maybe $500 or $600. Some people say that is not fair. The law should be applied equally, and the fine is the fine, and it doesn't matter how much you have. Others would argue, though, that it's not fair. If somebody makes a relatively small amount of money, they can't afford to pay back that fine. And we all know what happens if you don't pay your fines. They suspend your license.
Yeah, that's no fun. No. I have to say, I agree with both. If you're rich, then you should be taxed like you're rich. And if you get that fine, then you should pay the fine that you can afford. However, I think if you don't make that much money, I think you should still get a hefty fine so you learn a lesson. Because I'm scared that some wouldn't learn a proper lesson if they were just like, oh, I'll just pay back something simple. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I just think that if speeding is speeding, if you broke the law, you broke the law. There should be a consequence to that. We live in a society and we all have to follow the rules. Granted, I totally understand that. However, a $500 fine for one person might be peanuts. Nothing.
This is true.
That $500 fine for someone else who makes less might be a life-changing amount of money. Mm-hmm. So I actually don't really have a problem with this. It would just need to be dispensed by the court. It wouldn't be the cop on the side of the road trying to figure out how much your fine is based on your income.
Imagine that person in that car when the fine was handed to them. Oh my gosh. Here you go. Like they'd have to rub their eyes a few times to make sure that they actually saw the amount was correct.
Well, given that the whole point of the fine is to teach a lesson.
Yeah.
You're going to be penalized financially to teach you that what you did was wrong. Like I said, you can get that message across to somebody with an $80 fine if they're broke.
Yeah.
If you've got a multimillionaire, an $80 fine wouldn't do anything. They don't care. That's almost like permission to keep doing what they're doing.
It is. You're right. Absolutely. So I'm on board with that. And I wonder if they're going to fight it or not, just because it's so outrageous. But I love it. Like I would be in the juror. Like I would sit there and watch this case. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think it would just be fun. It'd be like, this is what you get.
We had a great conversation the other day about the situation with the former players for Team Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championships. That trial continues in London. They're going through each one of the players' lawyers having an opportunity to cross-examine the victim.
Yeah.
Then the players will have an option to testify in their defense. I don't know if they're going to do it. I'm really not sure if they're going to. If that's something they want the jury to see is the players up there telling their side of the story. Either way, though, it seems like every day there's another twist to this story.
Oh my gosh, Scott, you're absolutely right. I mean, even now, the EM is the initials that they're using for the woman at the center of this. Her boyfriend's now getting talked about in this trial. It's just like there's so many different layers, and again, it gets you thinking like, what really happened that night? You know, I don't want to say that she's not a victim, but then I don't want to say that these guys aren't victims. It's so hard. I honestly do not know what these jurors are going to do, because I'm just thankful I'm not in their position, because this is a tough one.
What's interesting is I know there's people listening to this pod from across the country, and maybe you're not even sure where London is. Yeah. London is in southwestern Ontario. It would be, say, halfway between Toronto and Windsor. Yeah. Great city. I love spending time in London. I was on the air there for a while, and now on the station that we're on, Light 92, you can actually get it in London. So there's a bit of an audience there. I've had a number of them reach out since we posted that episode the other day that have all heard things. Turns out if you're in London, you're a little more privy to some of the gossip. You might have heard a little bit more about the victim and the circumstances that night. It's something that people in the community are talking about, and I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, the evidence is obviously conflicting. Yeah. We have her saying she didn't want it. The guy saying, yeah, she did want it. The jury is going to make a decision at some point here, and half of the people are probably going to be quite angry. How could you not? I just don't know the resolution. And again, this all took place back in 2018. A number of years have gone by. They had closed the case, now brought it back. You're trying to recount everything. And even if you're going through it, for the victim or the players, you probably try to block some situations out so you don't have to, have that top of mind. I feel for everybody in this situation, because careers and lives have very much been tarnished by this whole thing. I loved that episode. If you haven't heard it yet, go back and give it a listen. It was about a half hour, 35-minute chat on this situation. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm here to tell you that we're going to do it again. Mm-hmm. We're just waiting for the victim to wrap up her testimony, and then we'll have a lot more tangible stuff that we can discuss before the players either do or don't put in their defense. Oh, I'm curious. I hope they do go on the stand and talk, but I don't know if their legal team will advise them to. I think they might say it's easy to get wrapped up in the moment and overshare or not. There's a lot of strategy involved, right? And some people just aren't likable. Yeah, this is, you know what? And that is true. And that plays a big factor, especially with the jurors. Yeah. And hey, you can't really control what the other side is going to ask. Yeah, and if those players go up with the best of intentions to defend themselves, and then the Crown starts asking them about their other sexual encounters, it could be pretty awkward. So, interesting case for sure. We're going to be talking about it more, but there's not really any new developments on this at the moment. There is something, though, that has come up. You likely heard that in Nova Scotia, they've passed a rule that you can't be charged for parking at the hospital. If somebody's in the hospital because they need treatment, they're a caregiver to someone who does, they're going for chemo, they've got tests to get done, whatever it is, you can't charge them for parking. Well, as you know, just about everywhere else, hospitals do charge for parking. Yeah. Yesterday, Ontario Health Minister Sylvia Jones was asked a question during a news conference about whether Ontario would follow Nova Scotia's lead. Listen to this. Yeah, hi, Randy Rath from CHTV. Minister Jones, I'm wondering, today MPP Birch and the Canadian Cancer Society are holding a press conference calling on your government to follow Nova Scotia's lead and drop parking fees at the hospitals in the province. They're saying essentially that many of these patients are elderly, as are their families, and it's a burden on them to have to pay these fees. They often live on fixed incomes and they can't afford it. Is this something that your government is willing to do?
Thank you for the question, Randy. So you know that there is a directive in place to ensure that hospitals must provide for visitors who are often coming into the hospital either for treatment, to volunteer perhaps, or to visit patients, that there is a very clear directive that says they must not allow the per hour or the daily rate to go above the CPI, and as well offer discounts for weekly visits or monthly visits. I understand that there are challenges when people want and need to visit our hospitals, but there is also the other side where we want to invest in people, in equipment, in capital. And that's what we've been doing with our investments since 2018, making sure that we have the sufficient services in Ontario to provide that high-quality care that people need and expect.
Okay. So no.
Thank you.
We're not
That's
gonna
all
do
she
it.
had to say.
All you had to do is say no, Sylvia. There's a whole bunch of things in that, Anna, that really rub me the wrong way. Number one, just a flat out refusal. Number two, you've got the health minister there saying, no, we're going to keep charging it. We've put a cap on it, how much they can charge per day, but you're still going to pay to park. And also saying there that revenue also helps to buy equipment and fund staff and all that sort of stuff. My question to you is why? Why?
Yeah.
The government is supposed to fund healthcare. That's never been a dispute. The government does it. I'll also tell you that there's a lot of hospitals who do these annual fundraisers because they have to buy equipment because it isn't provided by the government. Anna, do you know how many hospital fundraisers I attend and host over the course of a year? I've done dozens of them, and every single one of them is, hey, right now we're fundraising for our neonatal unit. We need a couple more incubators. Or, hey, this time around, this one got me, I was mind blown by this one. I hosted a hospital fundraiser because they needed to buy a new sterilization thing for the surgical tools. In other words, they're supposed to get sterilized after surgery. They were fundraising to buy a machine that sterilizes it. You can't tell me that that is not like standard operating procedure at a hospital. They absolutely need that. Why are they fundraising for that? And if that's the kind of thing that hospitals have to fundraise for, what the hell is all the money going towards? We spend billions on this every year.
You're right. And I've been a part of telethons trying to raise money, and we come up with millions. So I'm just, floored by the fact that it took her so long in a roundabout way to say, no, we're not going to do this. Because nobody wants to go to the hospital.
No.
Nobody wants to go. And during extreme, emergencies or whatever the situation, sometimes you don't even have the cash on you or the financial means to be able to even pay. It may seem like a small minimal thing to you, like a $15 parking ticket, but for some, like, that's groceries. I'm sorry, we should not have to pay. I went to the hospital a couple weeks ago and I got nailed for 2 hours with like a $15 parking ticket. Like, it's outrageous. And I even remember taking my dad for treatment, stressful time, and every day for an entire month. It adds up so fast.
If you are expecting and you have to go for various pregnancy tests and things like that, cancer treatments, oh my God, you're going daily for a specific run of time and you're getting jammed with that fee every day. There's not supposed to be any barriers to getting healthcare in Ontario. Having said that, there is a ton of them, namely the wait times and the fact that people can't get family doctors.
Yeah.
Now add into that we're paying a lot of money for parking. I don't think it's right. I think listen, with all due respect to the health minister here and the provincial government, I think you need to revisit this. I'm sure it's great extra money, but you need to ask yourself, why are we taking this money from people that are in a state where they shouldn't have to pay? Well,
and I want to see then where that money goes. I want them to post about it and be like, that parking ticket you paid, I bought this with that. Okay, that's I want to see.
You want transparency.
I want to know where my money's going, that sort of thing. But you know what? We have great callers. Thank you so much for texting us at Light 92 during our radio show. Someone even suggested, hey, why are casino parking free? We should be paying that, and then hospitals be free.
Think about that irony.
Go.
Yeah, all the casinos we have here in Ontario, free.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay to park there because they want you to come in and spend money. At the hospital, doesn't it send the reverse message? We're going to charge you for parking because we don't want you to come here.
Well, that's
Is that what they're saying?
It's wild. People already don't want to go to the hospital. Now add a fee on top of it? Like, come on. No, I can't.
Well, it's not fair, and I think it takes advantage of people, and I recognize that would be a loss of revenue for the healthcare system.
I get it, but...
Sure. But let's look at what's actually realistic here. And what's not realistic is people having to pay out of pocket every single day. And having said that, it's happening now. Every single day. Every hospital in the province has got a full parking lot, and all of those people are paying. In some cases, and this one really bugs me, especially with like the downtown Toronto hospitals, the staff have to pay to park.
Oh, do they? That part, that's terrible.
Well, you know what? I mean, there's some who would think that that's appropriate.
No.
Because if you work in the private sector, there's nobody that's going to pay for your parking if you have to park or pay to park at work. And they would argue it's the same with nurses and doctors. If they work at a hospital and there's a fee to park, they've just got to pay it. I don't think we should be charging healthcare professionals anything to park at a hospital. Give them the best spot possible.
Please.
And don't charge them for it.
Yeah.
Another great text that came into our radio show today was from someone who has figured out a bit of a hack. He goes to the hospital regularly to take his wife for tests. Got tired of having to pay this fee. So he pays for the all-day rate, $15.
Yeah.
And then when he's on his way out, he'll find somebody who's coming in and give them his parking pass. And all he asks that they do is pay it forward and give it to somebody else when they're done.
That warmed my heart, honestly. Again, those small interactions make such a big difference in someone's day, and to know that you're paying it forward, I love that, because it adds up so quickly. And for him to know that, because he's gone so many times, is just so telling.
You know, the government has heard it here from people. We've now seen Nova Scotia do it.
Yes.
And obviously Doug and Tim Houston are good friends. I don't understand why we can't make this work. I don't understand why we can't just let common sense prevail here, have a little bit of compassion and empathy for people that are going to the hospital, and just make it free.
Well, it's because they want to build a tunnel so you could get to the hospital faster.
Well, you know what, Anna? And this is the thing, too. They're complaining, we don't have the money, and we need that money for the healthcare system. And I'm thinking, but you guys waste a ton of money on dumb stuff all the time.
Give me a break. I can't get behind this. Like, no, I think it should be free. Nova Scotia, kudos to you for thinking ahead and realizing that something could be done here. I'm
going to suggest this is a miss from the provincial government. Being flat out asked if you're going to do it and saying no, I think that's cold. Yeah. I think you guys got to revisit this decision. I know there's people at Queen's Park listening.
Yep.
So fix this, please. I mean, I'm asking on behalf of Ontarians, can you please get rid of the parking fees at hospitals at the absolute minimum? Mm-hmm. You've got to reduce the fees to something affordable. When you think of all the seniors who use the hospitals statistically much more than the rest of us, they're on a fixed income in a lot of cases. $15 a day is tangible for them.
And sometimes getting a parking ticket somewhere else, so you don't have to park within the hospital spots, it can almost be cheaper than paying to be at the hospital waiting for the end of day, because you don't know how long. Sometimes if you're in an emergency, how long you're going to be, but you're going to get a standard $25 fee if you get a parking ticket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I did hear from somebody listening to our radio show today. I believe they said it was in Guelph, and I think they said it was a hospice. What they do is to make sure that people don't park in the hospital parking, but then go somewhere else. What they'll do is you get your little ticket at the machine when you pull into the parking lot. You have to go into the hospital and get your treatment, and whatever happens in there happens. Then they give you a certificate or a card to get out.
Oh, smart. Yeah.
So you only get free parking if you're at the hospital using the services. That I have no problem with.
I love that, because you don't want anybody to take advantage and start parking there that doesn't need to take up a space. And I hope people use their moral compass and know that please don't take advantage of a situation like that, honestly.
A couple more things here, Anna, because I know you're on a clock. You've got to get to have a McHappy day.
A Big Mac.
Conclave continues. You have immigrant European parents. They are Portuguese.
Oh, yeah.
They got to be right into this, because my in-laws are into it. Like, they're 24/7 watching CNN to see if there's white smoke coming out of the chimney.
So much so. So yesterday I was driving. My mom calls and she's like, oh my gosh, Ana. And I was like, yeah. She's like, there's black smoke. And I was like, black smoke? Where? She's like, on the TV. I was like, give me a break, Mom.
Because you thought the house was burning down.
Well, who calls to say there's black smoke? The first thing, I'm not thinking the Pope. I'm thinking something's happening at Casa Almeida. Like, are you kidding me right now? But yeah, so they're very much invested. And then she and my dad had a whole conversation letting me know about everything that's going on. But to them, it's like they're in a time now where they're able to watch this, live as it unfolds. And I'm really excited for them, because really this is like their Super Bowl. So yeah.
Yeah, there's certain demographics that are more invested in this than others, and that's great. Hey, whatever makes you happy, if that's part of your spirituality, by all means, but it is all consuming, because there's some networks that are wall-to-wall coverage.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see who the Pope will be. I mean, there's so many different theories. My parents have their own theories of who they think is going to be announced. And yeah, I'm interested. I thought I would have made the decision quicker. I thought yesterday we would have had the decision. I'm surprised they're really stretching it out, but it's keeping people interested and people talking. So yeah, maybe they're having fun with it. Who knows? We don't know what's going on behind those closed doors.
That's the thing. They might not even be voting in there. They could just be sitting around with their feet up laughing at the coverage.
As they should, Yeah.
Yeah. In Alberta right now, there's talk of separation. And so far, nothing has happened. And I don't like already the way people are starting to shame Albertans who are interested in having a conversation about sovereignty for Alberta. Some people are putting their fingers in their ears saying, we don't want to hear it. It's terrible. Even Premier Ford shot that down 2 days ago. Although yesterday he walked that back. I'm going to play that clip for you coming up in a few minutes. But the reason that this is on the table is because Alberta has something called citizens' initiatives. See, we live in a democracy. Sometimes it's easy to forget here in Canada, but we do live in a democracy. And in Alberta, what they do with a citizens' initiative is if you can get enough signatures, the government will address it and possibly create a law that you came up with. I think that's wonderful. Now, the downside to that is somebody might bring forward a petition to say we want to separate from Canada. And we'll deal with that. If it comes to that, then we'll have a conversation as Canadians and as Albertans, and we'll talk about all the reasons that we would like Alberta to stay. I want Alberta to stay. But I also respect the fact that they could have a right to make their own decision. I wouldn't want anyone to tell Ontario we can't separate if Alberta does, because if Alberta does, we might have to, Anna. Anyway, that's a conversation for down the line. The point is citizens' initiatives. I'm not aware that we have those in all provinces, and frankly, I'm trying to understand why. Let me give you an example. Every now and again, the public has some really good ideas, and it seems like government isn't really interested in dealing with the ideas of the public. They just want to do what their party came up with. What if I created a citizens' initiative to say, you know what? I've got my 200,000 signatures. This is a citizens' initiative. Now you have to address it. I think we should celebrate Halloween on the last Saturday of October instead of the 31st. You guys go ahead and debate it. Why can't we have a government that's accountable to the people like that? If you can get 200,000 signatures on anything, that's something I think the government should recognize.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't need to be that. It could be anything. I think we should forget Quebec, forget New York, forget Michigan. We're getting off daylight savings time.
Oh my gosh, I know a lot of people would sign that.
But
absolutely. And I think that's a good call. That's a great reference point because that is something that people are passionate about, but nobody does anything about it.
But I mean, the hospital parking thing is another one. That could be a citizens' initiative. It just really seems like the government isn't all that interested in hearing what we, the people, have to say.
I, for one, am shocked.
They have no problem kissing our butts when they want our vote. But why can't we have citizens' initiatives? I almost think these should be available nationwide. Every single province should have a mechanism. And I don't know that all provinces do. We live in Ontario. I'm fairly up on the issues. I don't know if I can create a citizens' initiative in Ontario, but there are a few things that I think we should get done here that the politicians don't seem all that interested in doing.
And I think that's it's such a missed opportunity because that's what people really care about, you know. And like you said, oh, we want your vote, but now would be the time. Like these are the things that really matter to us. And if you want to gain our trust, you have to take our opinions, listen to us, and have those conversations. It could be to your benefit too.
Well, you know, I'm looking at this picture still here of Sylvia Jones on my monitor, and frankly, I can't understand what the government doesn't understand about this. We had dozens and dozens and dozens of text messages this morning on this topic. Everybody is passionate about it. Nobody thinks that we should be paying to park when we need health care. The government just shot it down right away.
Oh, yeah.
Why can't we introduce a citizens' initiative that would compel the government to figure out a way to do this? I think it's perfectly reasonable.
It's just they gave us all the reasons as to why they can't. They didn't even consider why we could, you know, and that's the frustrating part. And it's just, to be shut down constantly, it just puts a bad taste in your mouth.
Speaking of which, you've got to get to McDonald's.
Delicious. What a segue. I can't wait. It's going to be such a good time. And I love it because a lot of people tend to go down there and they bring their families and they talk about their connection to Ronald McDonald House and how, of course, McHappy Day has been so beneficial in their life. But also, let's just say you can't eat McDonald's for whatever reason. You don't have to. You can go and buy an item like a pair of socks, a McDonald's sock, and those purchases also go to Ronald McDonald House and local charities. So there you go.
Okay, that's great. So you're going to be on your way. You're going down to McDonald's.
Yes.
By the time this pod comes out, you'll have left already. So I'm not even going to bother mentioning it.
That's why I didn't say it either. Yeah, but I will be there and I'll be flipping burgers though.
Okay.
I hope they let me.
I don't think they do. So let me tell you, back in the day, when McHappy Day first started, I was at the first one.
Oh, get out of here.
And they used to make you work at McDonald's. You would either be keying in orders at the front desk or you'd be handing food to people in the drive-through window. Sometimes they made you do the fries or flip the burgers. It was great. I don't know if somebody got hurt or they sued or something, but now McDonald's and McHappy Day, it's not as much celebrity as it is just local volunteers, which is good. Hey, if you want to volunteer, that's fine. And they don't really let you do much of the actual McDonald's operation. It's mainly just walking around and socializing, or you carry a little bucket or something to collect donations. So no matter how you do it, I'm sure you'll have yourself a great time. Did you ever work at McDonald's?
For as a regular job, no, but I have lent my, my expertise in, customer service. I've helped there before. So I've done McHappy Day live on TV, and then I've handed out food to people in the drive-thru. And then come to think of it, sitting here now, I was like, I hope none of those people ever called in sick, because like literally they're on live TV and no say. We're just like put the camera right on them, and they're just look at me like I had like 3 heads, but they're like, thank you, you know. But yeah, so it's always a lot of fun, and people are super excited, and you see people pay it forward too. They pick up the meal behind to the person behind them too.
I love
think that's
that.
so nice.
Certainly is.
Right?
All right, good job for a good cause. Next time you're in, it's still a little raw right now, so I don't think I should do it in today's pod. Not while the event is still on. I confided in Anna this morning that I had a pretty massive social faux pas yesterday.
Can I just tell you that it is really bad that you're going to cringe for him and have secondhand embarrassment, but you're going to love every moment when you find out what he did, because I am.
It was a fairly popular Canadian singer, and I made a comment yesterday at a Canadian Music Week type event, the Departure event in Toronto at Hotel X. I didn't know that artist was standing right beside me when I said it.
Oh, guys, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Okay. Do you want to come in tomorrow?
And
we'll do the story in tomorrow's pod?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, and I just want to relive this moment through you. I'm so happy it's not me, and you're going to be happy it's not you listening.
Oh my God, and our boss was right there too. It's like, oh, Jesus, Scott. Okay, Anna, good luck at McHappy Day. I'm going to play some Doug Ford here from yesterday, okay?
You got it.
So we just had a great conversation with the Prime Minister and all the premiers. We all congratulated him on his victory, but also congratulated him on how well he did yesterday and the restraint he showed. I don't think I'd have the restraint that he had yesterday, to be very frank, but in saying that, I think it's a good start on a new relationship. I saw President Trump said really kind things when he just tweeted out, so that's good. It's good for the country. It's good for the U.S. Had an opportunity to speak to the U.S. ambassador this morning and get his take on things. I think everyone's feeling relatively good on the meeting yesterday, so that's a good start. We had that conversation with the rest of the premiers. I think Prime Minister Carney did a really good job in really reaching out to the West, and I was pretty blunt. I said, it's time that your government starts showing some love to Saskatchewan and Alberta, because as I said, like the last Prime Minister showed no love, matter of fact, to the contrary. So it's nice that we're heading out there to Saskatchewan for an FMM meeting I think it's on June the 1st and June the 2nd, which is a good olive branch, and had a good discussion. So I'm a big believer of pipelines, big believer of getting rid of C-69, and we need to unite this country. And the way we're going to unite this country, as I mentioned to the Prime Minister in front of the premiers, show some love to the people of Alberta and Saskatchewan. And let's start diversifying our trade when it comes to oil. Let's start building pipelines west, east, north, and yes, south as well. But they're getting a discount, by the way. We ship them $100 million worth of oil. They turn it into $300 million and ship it out. I think the number, we're giving them a discount of 20%. Well, let's start shipping it out, because we know, and I've mentioned that to the U.S. ambassador today, that if you take oil off the trade, they have a $50 billion surplus with Canada, and I encourage them. Let's start.
Okay, that is a little bit of Ontario Premier Doug Ford yesterday speaking at Queen's Park. That is an interesting change in posture from Premier Ford. In the exact same spot, 24 hours earlier, he kind of fluffed off the question about Alberta. I don't support Alberta separating. Now, After having been rebuked by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, Premier Ford is calling for more love for the West. I don't know that there's many people in Canada that disagree with that. I don't know why that would be an unpopular opinion. I think most people, if they've learned nothing from the last few months, is how alienated the West feels. And we now know that we're probably going to be dealing with a sovereignty referendum coming out of Alberta, maybe Saskatchewan as well. Why did it come to this? For the federal government and for Ontario even to start saying we got to show some love to Alberta. Alberta's been getting screwed for years. Interesting now that when sovereignty comes on the table, now people are paying attention. So I thought that was nice of Premier Ford to acknowledge that the West does have some legitimate grievances and calling on Prime Minister Carney to do something about it. Let's get to a little bit of the Q&A that Doug Ford did yesterday.
Potential referendum. I mean, was there any talk about Premier Smith's potential referendum?
Well, I just always say, united we stand, divided we fall, and that was my message today. And let's continue making sure that we unite the country, not divide the country. And I spoke pretty strongly in support of Alberta and Saskatchewan because they've been ignored for the last 10 years. They've been treated terribly, to be very frank. And I think the new Prime Minister Carney, understands that, and he's going to be out there having great conversations. And just that one move, bringing FMM out to Saskatchewan, that's a big move.
Sure, we're going to give you a meeting in your province. Okay, great. Maybe it's a big deal in Saskatchewan that the federal government and the premiers are going to come and have a meeting there. Maybe. I am a little bit surprised, though, hearing this coming from Premier Ford. For 10 years, Alberta has been railroaded by the federal government. And we know, if we're being honest here, Mark Carney was definitely Justin Trudeau's financial advisor. He was the guy advising on all of these policies that have made Alberta so furious. Is Mark Carney the guy to solve the problem? Is Doug Ford maybe the guy to solve the problem and extend the olive branch to try and convince Alberta it's better if you stay? United we stand, divided we fall. That's what Premier Ford said. Okay, well, to get united, we've got to get Alberta and Saskatchewan and any other provinces that are feeling alienated. We've got to bring them back into the family. The good words there from Premier Ford. I'm just wondering what took so long to come to this conclusion. It's been 10 years. Now, he seems to be pretty confident that something is going to get done here, and I hope he is right. Let's get to another question.
Were there any discussions on breaking down interprovincial trade barriers?
Yeah, we did. We actually had that discussion. He said by July the 1st, but I said, let's all the premiers, let's get together, at least sign all the MOUs. So, who's coming up in the batting cage? PEI, Saskatchewan. Hopefully, I just text Scott right now and said, hey, let's sign that deal. Even Danielle, we're texting back and forth, and she wants to sign an MOU too. So, we do get along, by the way, just to let you know. We text each other. Quebec, something? I think Premier Legault is working on something right now, but I really encouraged Premier Legault to get that pipeline through Quebec. The last poll I saw was in the high 70s that people want that pipeline. So it's going to help the entire country. We don't have to be so reliant on the U.S. This is a game changer now. This is an opportunity to, build ports in the north, no matter if it's through James Bay or through Manitoba up there in Churchill. That's what we have to do to protect our country. We also have to get minerals out of the ground, not just here in Ontario, right across the board. I think the date that we're always looking for is we have to get permits before 2 years and start moving. And that's right across the board for the territories and for the other provinces that have critical minerals.
Premier Doug Ford there saying a couple of different things. Number one, encouraging Quebec to hurry up and get out of the way. Let's get these pipelines built. Now, I'd never heard that poll that 70% of Quebecers support a pipeline. Frankly, if I'm being honest, I find that hard to believe because that doesn't seem like something that Quebec would traditionally be in favor of. But I'll trust the premier. He had good polling when it came to the federal election, so maybe he does have polling in Quebec that says 7 out of 10 Quebecers want this. He also went out of his way to specify him and Danielle Smith are friends. They text each other. There was the exchange yesterday. You heard it in the podcast. Danielle Smith basically, not in so many words, but implying Doug Ford might be more of a liberal than a conservative. That was after Doug Ford fluffed off the thought of Alberta holding a referendum on sovereignty. I think it's good. Doug Ford is the chair of the Council of the Federation, the number one premier, top guy right below Mark Carney. He's in charge of organizing the premiers, and it sounds like he's doing a fabulous job at it. He's also saying here, though, that what we have to do is we have to build pipelines and we have to reach out to the West. What if Prime Minister Carney doesn't want to do that? Doug Ford has said in the last couple of days that we need to get tough on crime. What if Mark Carney doesn't want to do that? We've seen here Doug Ford really wants to be buddies with Mark Carney. But if Mark Carney is not going to go through with the things that Doug Ford himself says Mark Carney needs to do, is Mark Carney going to have a huge enemy in the Premier of Ontario? I guess it remains to be seen. Let's do one more from Premier Ford.
Your government's been under fire for not doing more to tackle this measles outbreak, which continues to grow, or for making doctor more and more readily available to the media. Are you worried about this measles outbreak, sir?
Well, let me tell you the facts, because there's always facts behind every story, and here are the facts. We have 150,000 units of vaccinations going right across the province, and we've put a $2 million ad promoting people to get their kids vaccinated. And here's the facts. There's certain communities in Ontario, for religious reasons, are not getting their kids vaccinated. I encourage anyone and everyone, you need to get your kids vaccinated because if not, it just starts spreading. So we've been working with a chief medical officer of health and also local medical officers. They know what they're doing, but the problem is you can't force a community to get vaccinated, and the problem with that starts spreading around other communities. And so we're giving it everything we have. They have 150,000 vaccines ready to roll. We just have to get those communities to get vaccinated, and for religious reasons they don't want to. That's a problem. You got to protect all of Ontario. You can't just ignore one community.
You don't think it should be mandatory?
It's a good point, but how do you force someone? Do you grab their kid and start jabbing them with a needle? It's a problem. I agree. But we're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this to make sure we have the vaccines, and we're spending $2 million on promoting getting your kids vaccinated. This is a no-brainer. Like, I don't know, I remember getting the measles shots.
I'll leave it there. Premier Ford sounding a lot like he sounded during COVID. Except during COVID, it wasn't what do we do? What do we do? With COVID, he went all in. Vaccine passports, segregating society, the whole 9 yards. Can't force people to do it. Well, I guess if that's a lesson learned from COVID, sure. But, I don't buy this argument that it's for religious reasons that people aren't getting their kids vaccinated. I think Premier Ford knows full well why there is some vaccine hesitancy in this province. And a lot of it has to do with the province itself. During COVID, we all saw it. We all lived it. Our government stood up there every single day. Get your shot, get your shot, get your shot. Safe and effective. You heard it. It certainly didn't stop transmission of the virus, which is what we all expected it to do. And was it safe? Well, you don't have to go very far to find a lot of evidence that maybe it wasn't as safe as they led us to believe it was. There's certainly a lot of vaccine injuries out there, and every couple of weeks we get an update on how many more there are. I think the province should do very little here. I think that everyone should be vaccinated, particularly the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. It's been around for a very long time. I personally believe that it's safe and effective, but I understand the hesitancy, and that is almost solely due to what we went through during COVID. There's a lot of people who have now become skeptical of vaccines because of the way the government acted during COVID-19, and that's just a reality. Talk to people. If you ask somebody about why they didn't get their kid vaccinated, you may not agree with why that is, but It's hard to argue with the logic. Last time the government told me I had to get a shot, this happened or that happened. Yeah, I understand it. We've got to do more to address it. And I think we're crazy here to not acknowledge what's going on in America. In America, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the new person in charge of Health and Human Services, is leading an investigation to find out if there is a link between vaccination and the skyrocketing rates of autism. Maybe there's not, but it's about time somebody studied that, isn't it? Isn't it about time we finally got a little bit of info on that that's reliable and unbiased? There is vaccine hesitancy, unfortunately. The good news is, I don't think anybody's died here, which is good. I don't think that this is really spreading through the schools or anything like that. It's spreading amongst the unvaccinated. Certainly problematic. Again, I would love for people to get vaccinated, but I think that this vaccine strategy of spend all kinds of money on advertising the shot and blah, blah, blah. People know the shot's available. They're probably getting calls all the time from public health. Their kids are probably kicked out of school or will be soon. I understand it. I disagree with it, but I understand the vaccine hesitancy, and I don't know why the province doesn't just admit we're part of the problem here. Here are the vaccines. We've got more than enough of them. Public health is going to contact you if you need one. Yes, it's important, and stay out of it. I don't know that this government has a whole lot of credibility when it comes to vaccination. I don't know how much money we need to spend on this. This is something that's been around for years and years and years. If people are hesitant right now, it's not a matter of how much more can we spend. Let's look at the root cause. Why are people hesitant? Let's address that. Will the government actually do that? I doubt it. I doubt they will. That would require looking in a mirror and saying, hey, maybe we went a little over the top during COVID. I don't know if they're going to do that, though. But I understand the hesitancy, and we've got to address the hesitancy based on the reasons that people don't want to get their kids vaccinated. Either they're afraid that it might cause other diseases. Maybe there are some religious exemptions. Sure, I understand that. Although those didn't seem to matter very much at all during COVID. Nobody seemed to care if you had a religious objection when it came to getting the COVID-19 shot. There's a lot of people who are still somewhat traumatized by what we put them through in this province, Ontario, during COVID. I don't know why that the government can't acknowledge that and deal with that. The problem is not awareness. I think it's a complete waste of $2 million to advertise, get your shot, get your kids vaccinated. People know that. Let's talk about why they're not getting their kids vaccinated. And I'll leave it at that. That's my piece for today, everybody. Tomorrow, I've got a great story to tell you. Anna is going to join me on the pod again tomorrow as we kick off another weekend. Have yourselves a good one. I appreciate you downloading so much. Another thing I'm going to do tomorrow is talk about what I learned about another popular podcast yesterday at the seminar that I attended. That'll be in tomorrow's episode. Have a great one, friends. We'll talk to you right back here tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.